You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk. Number 596.
Hello and welcome back to the Outdoors Station and to part 3 of our Wainwright Coast to Coast series, where Rose and I walk the 188 miles from St Bees on the west coast of the UK all the way to Robins Hood Bay over on the east, and this took place back in May 2025. We carried all our camping gear with us, and although we did our best to keep the weight down, we still gave in to a few little extras, the kinds of comfort that always seem to sneak their way in. Those few additions were definitely noticeable in the rucksack, nudging the weight over the magic 10 kilogram mark, and that really does make all the difference. Parts 1 and 2 covered our first 3 days, and while we like to think of ourselves as fairly fit, the long, steep climbs of the Lake District were beginning to take their toll, along with the poor night's sleep. A steady weariness was settling in, one that would build further over the next stretch. As you'll hear, thanks to an extended day 4, a rough night's sleep, and the growing worry that we might miss our planned arrival date and all the travel bookings that went along with it. That said, day 4 began with plenty of promise, following a glorious wild camp at Grizedale Tarn, which, as it turned out, was the best camp of the entire trip.
Cold.
You alright? Beautiful, isn't it?
Not a bad place to wake up to, is it?
So 20 past 7 in the morning at Grisedale Tarn. What a magnificent night. Just a gentle breeze, no bad weather, very cold, but we were toasty, and got out this morning for a water the roses about 6:30. Alan had already gone in his little Nemo, and I could see the chap with the Durston packing up on the other side. So we decided to make a move, and it takes that long to sort of unpack, decamp, tidy everything up, make sure we've not left anything behind. Only a bit of flattened grass and that's it. So we're ready to go, and if we're lucky, we might even make it down to Patterdale for in time for breakfast.
Hope so. Just beautiful morning. We did consider going for a quick dip, wash, swim. Chicken out, it's too cold.
Well, loose consideration, I think, in an ideal day.
There's this. Sorry, I'm munching. It's that stiff breeze across the lake, and it's like, no. When you only got a tiny little towel, it's a bit. Ooh. Had my dry robe here.
Oh yeah, your dry robe and all the kit, yeah. Right, anyway, I thought I'd just share the few moments. Glorious night. Lovely morning to wake up to. Again, a clear blue sky, not a cloud in the sky. The sun's now creeping over the top of the hills as we head down to Patterdale. But this could be the best camp of the whole trip, but absolutely lovely. As we walk down yet another stony path on our morning walk down into Patterdale. I'm on the right side of the river that runs down the gully, and looking up over onto the left side there is a magnificent dry stone wall that runs from the deepest part of the valley where the river is right to the top, and it's not in a straight line, it's sort of semi-zigs and wiggles its way like a restless worm. And I'm just looking at that as a feat of engineering. It is just incredible. I mean, alright, they're not short of stones, let's face it. As you can hear underfoot, it's plenty of them, But to build that, and it's been there for what, 100 years? And it hasn't moved in the storms and the snow and all the weather that we've had over the last 100 years. I find it such a thing of beauty to look at, and again a mystery that these old skills have sort of drifted by the wayside. People don't consider them anymore. But I mean, how many men and how long did it take to build that? I went on a dry stone building taster course with a friend a couple of years back, and there was about, 20 people, and we were taking an old wall that was sort of fallen apart and rebuilding it under the guidance of an expert. And he was saying, well, if we do more than 5 metres between us, we'll be lucky. And I mean, this wall, now I can see the whole length of it, has got to be well over a mile long. That's absolutely fantastic. And there doesn't even look to be a stone out of place. There's no area where it's sort of collapsed or anything. Wonderful, wonderful. Got to appreciate these signs you see of the old skills and techniques, because they're long gone and very, very few people are keeping them up. And they certainly don't have the grit, I would guess, as the old boys that did that. I mean, just getting up the side of the hillside, let alone carrying stone and laying it in the right place. What a feat. I mean, it's got to be 1 in 1 at least in places. Marvellous, absolutely marvellous. Well, an update on day 4. It is 11:50 and we've just left the Lakeside cafe down at Glenridding, and sadly it is almost a mile away from Patterdale. We arrived this morning at Patterdale Hotel, coming down off the peak.
About 10:30, was it 10:30?
Something around that sort of time, thinking, might just catch the last of the breakfast trade, and was greeted by a very nonchalant hotel staff who announced that no, we finished breakfast now and we're closed now till gone 12 o'clock, when they'll be serving coffee and cake for passing tourists. Why don't you try the Red Line across the road? So we went to the Red Line across the road, and the times were opening at 12 until late, which is not much use. Then we went to what was, as we found, to be the old post office, which used to have a shop, and that too is closed. So I'm talking to a couple of locals. They said, well, the nearest thing you're going to find for resupply is down at Glenridding, which was the Lakeside cafe. And to be fair, the ladies in the Lakeside cafe have been very helpful. We spent £43 there, having 2 breakfast baps, 2 pots of tea for 2, a can of cold drink, 2 cakes and 2 sandwiches. And when we arrived,
and a packet of crisps.
There you go, there's the shopkeeper. When we arrived, they were just doing breakfast, so we couldn't order the sandwiches, and as time drew on, it came round to sandwich time, so we could order the sandwiches. So we're now walking back into Patterdale to finally pick up this trail, and expecting another semi-stinker of a climb. And we saw it as we came down off the hillside, and it's a long diagonal path, which probably is only a kilometre or so long, but I think it will take a fair amount of time. And then once you're on the top, it seems like it's pretty undulating up and down many peaks and tarns as we make our way towards Shap. How far we'll get today is anyone's guess, but as I say, it's just gone 12 o'clock, just gone 12 midday, and that's the way we're going.
Yeah, I think it's about 15.5 miles to Shap, and of course it's the start of the bank holiday weekend, so what we'll do accommodation wise, I think we might have to do depending on how far we get, I think it might be a wild camp because there's nothing at Shap.
Well, we're prepared for a wild camp. We've got some supplies now, some extra bars and food and whatever else, plus we've got our dehydrated food, so it's not a problem if we have to wild camp, but the weather is due to change supposedly tonight into tomorrow. I don't mind wild camping, but at the same time, if somebody was to offer me a bed and breakfast, I don't mind that either.
No, definitely not, especially with I think we could both do with a shower by now.
Yes, I think we stink, is the technical term.
I need to do some washing, socks and knickers.
And on that happy note, let's crack on. Well done, Rose. It's now 1:20 and we've just reached the col going through to Angle Tarn, and it wasn't too bad a climb, bit of a kick up. I think that's the only thing I'll leave the Lake Districts thinking. Stones and a kick up. Ah, there it is, the skylark. It was singing beautifully a second before I started to record. Oh, that combined with the silence and a cool breeze is just perfect. That's definitely mountain tops. So as I say, we're about to go around the corner and hopefully catch Angle Tarn and then try this undulating route in the direction of Shap and see how far we get. Well, our day 4 continues. 3:20, just gone 3:20. And we've almost completed the final climb, and we're currently situated round the back of the Knot at 700 metres in a very pleasant day again. There are clouds in the sky, but it's fairly blue, but certainly turning that slight different shade, which might indicate the weather will be changing in the near future. Breeze is a lovely, just cool breeze, and the walk has been fairly epic actually today. We've done really well, and we're just enjoying the lunch that the ladies at the Lakeside tea rooms prepared for us, and because we've actually made good time and it's re-energised our legs, certainly eating breakfast down there re-energised us to do the climb, we've been in fairly good spirits. So today we have left Grisedale Tarn at around 7:30, made our way down Grisedale Beck, through the farms there, got down to Patterdale, had the frustration of getting something to eat and some refreshments, as I've told you before, so we delayed for a good hour or so down there, and then we left Patterdale at around 12 o'clock because as we went past the pub was open, and so they could have done something for us. Anyway, that's by the way. So from there it was a steady climb. Not too bad as climbs have gone over the last few days, and it's definitely, although it's still stony, there's a notice that the stones are getting less, and occasionally then you can get nice short grass and get a yomp on and get some distance. So we came round to Angle Tarn in no time at all. Very beautiful, great path around the outside of that, and it was 20 minutes and we're on the other side of Angle Tarn. And we kept going, and so the final climb up to the Knot is, well, the Knot itself is 739 metres. We're at 700 metres at the moment, and the path actually doesn't go to the top. It's down, well, I can see the path from here. It's just going up another 20 or 30 metres, I guess. And then we take a sharp left before we head down to Haweswater. And then from Haweswater, it is a yump into Shap. And we're quite surprised that we're even considering we might get that far. So we are considering a wild camp, if possible, along Haweswater. I don't know what the rules are these days in the Lake Districts. I remember seeing something on social media about banning lakeside camping. And of course it is Bank Holiday weekend Friday, so I should imagine everything is going to be quite busy. However, having said all that, if we could find a bed and breakfast or a campsite where we could have a shower and a wash and certainly wash our clothes, which stink, that would be great. So that's where we are. So 3:25 on the top of the knot and heading down to Haweswater. So I shall fill you in as the day unfolds and see where we actually end up. It's been a very long day, starting out at 7 o'clock-ish. It's now just gone 8, and we are at the homestead end of Haweswater Reservoir. As we came down to the reservoir, off the top where we had our luncheon break at Bridgend, Angle Tarn, etc., etc. Lovely going, walking over the top, down Kidsty Pike, then a really steep drop down at Kidsty House, where the Fix the Fells people are working on some of the footpath. But the footpath is like a scramble, it really is. I mean, it'd be horrible to go up, so coming down was a challenge. But we eventually made it, and once we saw the Haweswater and the amount of evaporation that had happened, realised the lake or reservoir is probably a third down. The beaches that are normally obviously completely covered, they must be almost 100 metres long before we actually get to any water. But of course everything is fenced off. Everything is fenced off. You can't get anywhere near it. And we, when we looked at the map, thought we should be able to find some camping spot along there. Anyway, the only place I would say that you could camp is actually right at the far end, called the Rig. I saw somebody walking along the beachfront there, and that is a flat area that you can actually access and get to. But actually walking the length of it as we've done, and then finding a sign almost at the far end, in fact we passed it probably half a mile ago, it says basically Haweswater, you can't do wild camping and you can't do fires and you can't do the usual stuff, which is fair enough. So we passed that sign and we just kept going, hoping that we would find something, and we did. We found a patch just by the side of the track that's just big enough to pitch the tent, and as I say, it's 8 o'clock at night. I can't imagine anybody's going to be bothered, and we'll be gone by 6 o'clock in the morning on our way. But it's been a very, very long day.
And we got the tent up just in time, because then it started to rain.
And the forecast has changed for the next few days. Sunshine and showers basically, and high winds on, what day is it today? Is it Friday today?
Friday, yeah.
High winds on Sunday, Monday, which is obviously the bank holiday. So it'll be interesting to see what effect it has to the tourist trade. And we are in desperate need of a shower and various facilities, as one would hope. So we are looking from now on for some little bit of comfort, I think, just so we can cleanse our stuff and ourselves. But as you can hear from my voice, we are completely shattered. So with that note, I'll say goodnight, and I'll speak to you on day 5. It's the morning of day 5 and it is 10 to 7 a.m. Very, very brief introduction to the day. Both exceedingly tired now. Last night we were on our knees. We came around the corner of the trail and found a little triangular patch between the wall and the trail, and the tent fitted. So that was it. And as we were putting the tent up, the rains started. The heavens opened, as you may have heard in the previous recording. And it rained pretty heavily all night long, to be fair. There was also a heck of a wind going on, but thankfully we naturally were just sheltered behind this wall and behind the trees, as you can probably hear around us. I'm not even sure where we're going today.
Well, the idea is to be in
Shap? Or we've got to pass through a Shap?
Shap is where we should have been yesterday.
How far are we away from Shap?
Kirkby Stephen's.
Kirkby Stephen's is where we should be, is it?
Which is about another 16 and a half, 17 miles.
Right, but it's not. There's no hills, are there?
Oh, there's a little bit of a hill.
Then they're not lakes hills.
No, hopefully they're not straight up. Straight up like a ladder.
Right, so yeah, we'll report when we've woken up properly and we've got our heads together and all the rest of it, but we're packed and ready to go. So let's see if we can catch up to where we should have been yesterday and then try and get to where we should be today. (8:20) and we're definitely leaving the lakes behind us. We were so lucky to find that pitch last night. It really was divine intervention, finding it, getting the temp up in time just before the rain, because after that pitch there was only one other spot that we spotted that might have been acceptable. So we continued our way down into village of Burnbanks, which is a model village originally built for the workers on the dam. Fascinating little bit of history there in the public plaque. And then from there we're now across open pasture land, wet grass, obviously an established path, surrounded by buttercups
and dandelion clucks and red clover. It's really pretty. And we saw a red squirrel.
Yes,
which was brilliant.
A red squirrel in the village actually.
Yeah.
But as soon as you cross out of their village into this pasture land, obviously whoever owns this land does not want you here. Lots of signs about "I'll shoot your dog if it chases my sheep." And this is the footpath. Do not deviate. It's only permissive. So get off my land. Seems to instantly happen. But we're looking back at the tops that we came over yesterday and they're shrouded in rain. So we pushed on and we did the right thing, but gosh, we do feel tired now. And we're both acknowledging once again we're actually running on empty. We've got some bars that we picked up in the last place.
Well, we didn't really had those sandwiches we got from the tea room yesterday about 3:30. We got to by the time we camped, we were just knackered, didn't have anything else. So we've had a couple of bars this morning. So I think if we had a good feed, this is, I think, where
a cafe or something would be helpful. But
and I can see why, the Sherpa service works, or if it's all booked, you're walking B&B to B&B, you're guaranteed a dry night. You can do some washing, feel clean, good breakfast, packed lunch provided, and off you go.
And you've got an evening meal waiting for you.
Yeah, so I definitely see the advantages.
Yeah.
I think the mistake we made was thinking this would be easier than a TGO, and I don't know that it is.
No. I think we've definitely been a bit naive there. But we'll go through our pros and cons at the end. Mistakes that we've made with our approach and perhaps some of the gear and stuff as well. Anyway, Shap calls. Hopefully we'll find something at Shap. Otherwise we're not scuppered. We've got some porridge, haven't we?
Porridge.
Yeah, we've got some porridge, so we'll manage with something. But again, just water, just drinking water would be nice. Yes, and knocking on doors may be the way to go. Right, I'll let Rose negotiate that fence. So let's just fill you in with where we are today and what actually has happened. It's 5 o'clock as I record this, and you can hear I am indoors somewhere. The trip last night along the length of Haweswater really did sap all our reserves, and as I said, we managed to get a little wild camping spot almost right at the very end, which was past the signage where it said no wild camping, so we sort of felt fairly comfortable to camp there. But even so, it wasn't a comfortable night's sleep or a comfortable feeling. So we were up at 6 and on the road by 7 easily, heading towards Shap. It was definitely a case of leaving the Lake District and heading to a different style in the countryside. The stone steps over the walls, the stone walls, was completely different. The landscape was different. The Beautiful wildflowers that we're walking through were different, and it had rained heavily during the night. In fact, most of the night it had rained, so the ground was obviously semi-sodden underfoot, but very nice walking all the same. Having said that, the sort of semi-blue, semi-grey sky and the humidity was really hard going. It was very, very tacky feeling on the skin, and everything stuck to us. So that didn't really help for the way that we were feeling. By the time we got down to Shap Abbey and had a look round, we estimate that was about 9:30ish. We only had a handful of foods that we'd picked up from the shops to eat, leaving us with just the dehydrated foods. So we realised that obviously we needed to pick some more supplies up or work out what we were doing. But mentally and physically, we both were really, really tired, really, really low, really, really tired. Last couple of days have been exceedingly tough. And again, open to admit that we are probably carrying too much. We could have done it lighter. The weather has been kind to us, but the old story is, plan for the worst, hope for the best. It's been a fine balance, but certainly definitely need to knock a couple of kilos out of the bag if at all possible. Anyway, we made it across the fields and then up the road to Shap, which actually is fairly well serviced. There's a spa shop, I think it was, or a co-op, and a cafe who was very welcoming, very helpful, the cafe, and we'd soon had several cups of tea and some cold drinks and some tea cakes, and that revitalised our enthusiasm. However, we didn't feel up to the 20 miles to walk, which has been estimated in the guidebooks as being about 10 hours before we got to Kirkby Stephen. And after the rains also, a lot of it was across moorland, which again some of the books have described as being quite boggy. So from an enthusiastic and a weary point of view, we were really considering the wisdom in doing that. So we've decided to take some transport and get to Kirkby Stephen to shortcut that, and then also, if we can, find some accommodation. And we thought the bus from Keld to Kendal would be fairly straightforward, and then from Kendal to Kirkby Stephen would be fairly straightforward. However, they don't run like that round here. The only bus that went from Keld went north to Penrith, then it came round to Kendal, and it was 3.5 hours on the bus. And then you would obviously have had to find the appropriate bus to get to Kirkby Stephen. And on asking locals for advice, we were told there's only 1 or 2 buses a week and they don't run on Saturdays. So that was the end of that. Long story short, I phoned around for a taxi, and we got a taxi from Kirkby Stephen to collect us and take us back to Kirkby Stephen for his point of view, which actually worked out reasonably well considering some of the prices that I was initially quoted, and that was £60. During the trip, the driver suggested a bed and breakfast guest house that he has done various work for, and sure enough, I phoned her in the back of the car and she'd had one cancellation because being bank holiday weekend, literally everything is booked solid. And we exited the car at the Jolly Farmers Guest House, which is hosted by Carol. Carol has been an absolute darling from start to finish. We were obviously much earlier than she normally has check-ins at sort of 4 o'clock. This was around midday-ish, I guess, when this happened. And she welcomed us in, got us in. We all had showers, got our wet stuff into the drying room, done a load of washing for us, and enabled us to sort of recuperate and feel a lot more human again. We're both feeling extremely grateful. And the quote for that has been about £130, but all the additional things add up as well, like the load of washing and sandwiches for tomorrow and all this sort of stuff. So we spent an hour or so tootling round Kirkby Stephen, which actually is reasonably well serviced with a co-op and a spa and a one-stop. So there's plenty of places to get various bits and bobs for your ongoing travels. handful of pubs, a few restaurants. There used to be some outdoor shops here, but they've all closed, sadly, same as us, competition from Amazon, etc. And a good place to rest and relax if you've got the budget for it. Can't find any campsites which are nearby, although I put a post out on the Facebook Coast to Coast page and everybody suggested the Pennine View campsite, which is not far away and actually would have been okay, but of course these days it's all done on the internet and there was no telephone number for me to phone up and check, and when I went on the internet there were no free dates until next weekend, so consequently we didn't end up trying there. But we're not disappointed at all. This has been a bit of a expenditure from our point of view, but this is supposed to be a bit of a holiday break for us as well as a bit of a challenge, so we don't feel too embarrassed in saving ourselves a day. Having said all that, we are still a day behind our 12-day target to reach Robin Hood Bay on the Sunday, or yes, it's going to have to be the Sunday, or very, very early on the Monday. So we are going to have to combine a couple of days together. But having had this break now, 5 days in, an afternoon to rest and recuperate and top up our food rations and whatever for the next couple of days, then I think things will improve vastly. Even though the weather has changed, it is going to be much easier underfoot. And talking of which, in a couple of days' time, our lovely daughters have paid for us to have a nice hotel break at Reeth. So we hope to have a little bit of luxury there as well, because why not? It's part of the fun. So that about winds up day 5. We're about to go out and have a meal and get to bed early. Breakfast tomorrow sounds sensational. She's got a whole range of foods to choose from for breakfast. We put our breakfast orders in and we're looking forward to tucking into the granary roll sandwiches when the time comes tomorrow afternoon. So that wraps up day 5. Sorry it's a bit of a cop-out for those people that think we're practically copping out slightly. One of those things, we feel a lot better mentally and physically for it. And as I say, we're not trying to kill ourselves. We're trying to enjoy a holiday break as well. So we will continue with this podcast tomorrow. You can probably hear in my voice just what a difference taking a day's rest in the little metropolis of Kirkby Stephen, under the care of our wonderful B&B host at the Jolly Farmer, made to both our mental and physical well-being. Just an afternoon spent recharging our batteries put a fresh spring in our step and ultimately made all the difference for the rest of the trip. That said, we did feel a bit guilty about leapfrogging this section of the route. In hindsight, the much-needed rest allowed us to cover some considerable distance with ease over the following days, so perhaps we could have found accommodation in Shap and managed to cover the ground comfortably the next day. What compounded the decision was our commitment to arrive on time at a special gift of luxury accommodation we needed to reach by the end of day 7. So all of these factors together made the decision to take a taxi seem entirely sensible. And so that brings part 3 to a close. We hope you've enjoyed following along with our adventure diary, and we'd love it if you left a comment or review, whether here or on your podcast directory of choice. In the next episode, we'll continue along the trail, sharing more of the highs and lows and chatting with fellow walkers about their impressions of the Wainwright Coast to Coast. Until then, of course, take care and bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To hear or see more from our extensive free library, please visit theoutdoorstation.co.uk.